Everybody. We're having another one of these Talking with Sensei chats, and I'm going to be talking to somebody I recently found on YouTube, and somebody sort of goes along the same theme as mine. It's a tactical preacher. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm alive.
Yeah.
Quick, give us an intro of your channel, what you're all about, and all that deal.
Well, there's a little bit of a history to this because anybody who sees the URL for my channel, you'll notice it says Planeswalker BT is kind of the URL I have, and I can't change it because I've had this channel for many years. Never really used it much. I used to write books way back in the day, actually before I was a Christian, and I used the channel as sort of a very minor outlet to talk about some of the ideas that I had in writing, novels. They were more like Lord of the Rings type novels. I'm no longer published, so that's a long time ago. But so the channel sort of morphed in the last, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years. I've always been into hunting and fishing and the outdoors, but never really into the tactical community. But I figured, you know what, I already have this channel, and I just started tinkering around. The first video I ever shot was with my iPhone of my brand new Tika T3. It's not so brand new anymore. I've shot several deer with it, but I actually filmed it with my iPhone with one hand and just very low tech. And that video has one of the highest view counts on my channel. So I started looking at this and I said, well, okay, well, this is something I would like doing. I love to teach. It's the gift that the Lord has granted to me. I have no idea why or how. I'm very shy, typically, especially in front of people, but he does mysterious things. So I just started using the channel to talk about everyday stuff that I buy or borrow. Most of it, actually, you see on my channel, I've bought myself over the years. Some of it's very old. I've just kind of redone it, or I've just purchased some new here and there. But I don't post videos every day or even every other day. Sometimes not even once a week. I do it whenever I have time and can do it. So that's sort of how it's blossomed, and built it up. It's almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is for me a pretty big milestone. So that's sort of the quick and easy, dirty story of it.
Yeah, something I just learned I thought was really interesting is I'm actually looking into going through a company called Halo Publishing and looking to publish a collection of short stories I've written. And if you watch a video I have, What's Keeping You Out of Hell, I actually used I've always been a creative person, so I just started writing like short stories to see if I was any good at it. And that I gave a bunch of those stories to them, and I'm working with them to start publishing a book soon. So that's really cool. You tried doing that as well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's. I tell you what, publishing, especially nowadays in the digital age, in many ways it's a lot more difficult, but in a lot of ways it's made it a little bit more streamlined, a lot easier. There's a lot more platforms you can publish on. So yeah, it's a very competitive world out there. So what I would recommend to you is just don't get discouraged, because you may go through a lot of rejections before you get somebody that picks you up. It's just the nature of the business.
Oh yeah. What I would like to see this do is if this whole authoring deal works out, is to make it sort of like become sort of like the tent ministry that Paul did. Sort of like
Yeah,
that is my main source of income. So if I'm working at a church, if they can pay me, that's great, but I wouldn't be reliant on it,
sure.
while still having, like, say, an outlet to be like C.S. Lewis, of ministering in different writings, but at the same time just talking about dragons killing griffins if I want to.
Yeah, yeah.
But I watched a few of your videos. I got a few questions here I'd like to ask. First off, do you actually pastor a church, or what's the preacher deal with you?
Yeah, I do. The preacher was given to me when the nickname, I used to play paintball, and I'm getting a little bit too old for paintball in the sense where I don't want to risk, breaking my ankle, because I tend to play very hard, very competitively, and my body isn't keeping up anymore with my mind. But I was always very good at paintball. I just had a natural knack for it. And with paintball, you have to shoot with both eyes open.
Uh-huh.
And transitioning into the tactical community, it's always pretty fun. But the guys that I play with, I did with for years, and I've actually gone through a couple of handles or call signs, as they say in the military world. And once I entered seminary and they saw my whole life just change, they started calling me preacher. And I actually have my paintball jersey. It's, I guess, officially retired. I'm not real sure yet. I may break it out someday, but it has preacher across the back. So that's sort of where the preacher thing stuck. But preacher is such a common name, especially on YouTube, that it was taken. But I started looking around on Instagram and Twitter, and tactical preacher really wasn't taken. I was sort of shocked and surprised. So once I started really getting into the tactical gun culture, not the gun community, that's sort of the general side of it, I think, really getting into the gun culture, talking with military people, police, really getting into it. I wasn't able to go to the military, unfortunately, because of a that I had as a child. But I just, tactical preacher, nobody calls me that. Maybe most people call me pastor or preacher. But yes, I actually do now that I'm out of seminary. I graduated in May of 2015, so not that long ago. It's not even a year yet. By August, I had been appointed, much to my surprise and my wife's surprise, we were appointed to a local church about a half hour from where we were living. So we're still in the Pennsylvania. I'm not going to say specifically where we are, of course, for safety reasons. We're in Pennsylvania. I'll give you that much. And we live right in the church. So we're doing it. We're in the ministry. I'm probably going to be transitioning full time at some point. But the Lord hasn't told me when to do that yet, but that's the plan, is to go full time. Fortunately, the church can pay me. They want to pay me. But look, if like you said, if I can be like Paul, if I can do something with this YouTube thing and reach people this way, I personally think this is a ministry that God uses, this online social media thing. So yeah, I actually do pastor a church congregation. I mean, it's been growing a little bit. We have about 100 and some, 100 and some change every Sunday morning. So it's been such a big blessing. My first church, and it's only been about 6.5 months. So brand new into all of that.
That's great. So starting off, like, say somebody in your congregation or somebody visiting you, somebody visits your church and they see you have this channel and stuff, and they ask you something like, I haven't heard this question yet, but I know a lot of people ask it. Why should Christians carry or be proficient with firearms? I mean, those are lethal weapons. Christians are supposed to be people of war. So how do you justify that?
Oh, it's a very good question. And to be quite honest with you, when you're on social media, you'll learn, you'll find out. I'm sure you may have run into a few. When I had 100 subscribers, it wasn't so bad. When I started to get higher, I've had some atheists jump on my channel and sort of bash me on any number of things. And, as loving as possible. But the good thing about YouTube is it has a nice little mute button. Look, because here's the thing. I don't want to silence anyone who disagrees with me. Okay. If they want to come and talk to me privately, I don't want to say I'll take you on, but you know what I'm saying? I'll talk to anybody if they want. I follow 1 Peter 3:15. I always am ready to provide a reason and an answer for why I believe what I believe. I'm not afraid of that at all. Mm-hmm. But on a public forum, when my family watches the videos, kids watch the videos, don't try to influence them. If you want to take me on and challenge my ideas, you can private message me, but don't bash me and make fun of us and be nasty and mean. First of all, you're not really helping your cause. Okay. If you're bashing Christians when you're supposed to be Mr. or Mrs. Tolerant, I wouldn't do that to you. I don't jump on atheist channels and bash them. It's a free country. They're allowed to do what they do. But how do I handle somebody telling me, I've had people jump onto my pictures on Instagram, fellow Christians, I'm assuming, and say, well, and they quote all these verses, they'll quote Matthew 5:39, for example, where, I'm missing the reference there. I had it, but let me check it real quick. Matthew 5:39, Jesus says, do not resist the one who is evil, but if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And those verses. We all know those verses. There's many other ones in Proverbs. There's some in Romans, where it appears that the Bible is supporting a worldview of pacifism. And yet the people that quote those verses also forget about Luke. If you'll forgive me, I don't want to mess them up on air. Luke 22:36, Jesus, the same Jesus, by the way, also said to his disciples, but now let the one who has a money bag take it, and likewise a knapsack, and let the one who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one. And there's other verses in there too. There's actually verses in Exodus in the Old Testament talking about if a thief breaks in the middle of the night, then needs to be punished and things like that. However, this same Jesus scolded Peter for pulling out his sword and chopping off the ear of the Caesar's right hand person there in the garden. So what do we make of all this? Well, my simple answer is this: I am against violence. I hate violence. The last thing that I would ever want to do or be forced to do is to pull my pistol out and shoot another human being. I don't care if they're ISIS. I don't care if they're somebody trying to kill me. I don't want to kill anyone. I think the problem out there is that people think that Christians read the Old Testament and we get this kind of bloodthirsty look in our eyes where we just want to go kill everything and everybody in our path because God wills it. That is not the case, at least not the way that I've been brought up, the way that I read the Bible, the way that I believe. But it's also, I think, very, very unwise and foolish to think that we cannot defend ourselves. The sad fact is, and you know this, packing preacher, that we live in a fallen, broken, evil world. A lot of people choose to turn their eye to that and say, no, evil doesn't really exist. I believe everybody's basically good. They can say that. The fact is, I don't think it's true. And so there are times where, if somebody's going to try to kill me, or especially my wife or kids, I'm sorry. I believe biblically I have the right. In fact, I think it's a duty to defend myself. Whether I'm proficient with a firearm or proficient with hand-to-hand combat, it doesn't matter. The fact is, I think we are meant to defend ourselves. And I think we're unfortunately in a position in this world right now where we must, unfortunately. One day, I believe, and I'm sure you do too, we won't need any of this. Things like this, these will all burn up and go away. And there'll be a
as awesome as they are, they're going to go away.
That's right. They're all going to burn up in the end. And I really keep that in perspective. I love having guns. I love having all this stuff. But then I'm thinking to myself, there's going to be one day where we don't need all that, and it makes me happy. So yeah, I mean, that's a long kind of answer, but I wanted to be thorough so people really understand where, my position on this whole thing.
Yeah. I've actually heard two other side arguments that of, what do you say to somebody who says, well, what about God being my protector? God will protect me, so I don't need to protect myself. What do you say to that?
Well, what I say to that is that we are made in the image of God, and God is obviously an infinite, super intelligent, infinitely, he's omniscient, he's omnipotent, and he's omnipresent. He's everywhere at all times, and he's all-knowing. But he's made us in his image, and even though we've been tainted by the fall, he's given us a mind. He's given us the ability to reason. He's given us the ability to, he's given us the laws of logic. People think that logic only applies in certain situations. It doesn't. Nobody invented logic. Logic was discovered and defined, but logic in and of logic is universal. Everywhere you see the known universe, logic, the rules of logic apply. And somebody might say, well, at least as far as we know. But the point is, he's given us a mind to think, to react. He's given us he's given us a survival instinct where we will do things to preserve our life. And also the second thing is, yes, God is my protector. And let me tell you something. I want to phrase this correctly, but for me, God is first, not my guns. Even if somebody came and tried to take away all my guns, would I obey the law? Yes, unfortunately, I would probably obey the law. I don't think it will come to that. I think that it would rise up. I think there'd be a revolution if that would ever be the case. But I do not think that God expects us to, because look, here's the problem with that argument. Let me just give you a question in return for your audience. The person that says, well, I have God, I don't need him for self-defense. Do you buy food? Do you buy clothing? Do you buy shelter?
Yeah.
If you believe that God will protect you and you don't need a gun, that's fine. I'll grant you that argument. But are you consistently applying that argument for every area of your life? I think
consistency isn't necessary to those people.
Absolutely. You would instantly recognize that it's a worldview that you can't even sustain with your own logic, because God should be providing you all your food without you having to go to the store. He should be providing all your gas and without any money. So we have to be careful in what we ascribe to God, because we have a problem with so-called violence. I'm not a violent person. I don't ever want to pull my gun, as I already mentioned. But I do believe God expects me to be wise in how I handle people. Gun will be my last resort. I mean, even if it means negotiating, even if it means I get shot. But look, if push comes to shove and somebody's going to draw, then hopefully those instincts will kick in, and I will meet my maker, ready to account for that if I do have to take a life for that reason.
Yeah. Well, that sort of leads into something one guy actually told me on the matter. This was years ago. I forget what the scenario was, but he said he couldn't kill a person because even if it was justifiable self-defense, because he couldn't have it on his conscience that he sent somebody to hell. How do you refute that one?
Well, look, I mean, again, we're not God. And I think we, as human beings, we tend to want to play God in almost every area of your life. And look, I'm not a perfect person. There are times when I want to play God. I don't know the person. Most likely, I'm not going to know the person that's breaking in, or even if I see them in the dark. And there's so many variables in this that could contribute to that. I don't know if I'd be able to live with my conscience after shooting someone, even if it was viable. But that wouldn't keep me from doing it, because my duty to my family. And look, I don't worry about myself in this situation. I say self-defense, but ultimately, if somebody's trying to come in here and break in, that's an offense to my wife and my kids. They're the ones in way, in my opinion. I'm going to do everything I can to defend them. I would turn it around on them and say, how could you live with your conscience if that same person that was going to kill you, that you just can't kill because you sent them to hell, which you don't know, by the way, how would you be able to live with the fact that you did nothing while your wife or your child was shot and killed, or raped, or stabbed, or any of those other things? Again, it's a matter of perspective. I don't want to kill anybody either. But if it's between me, especially my family, or them, to me, it's a very easy equation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've come to the same conclusion of I've those are some of the first two videos I've made, but I've pretty much come to the same conclusion. Like, how can you just be that ignorant to just make a statement like that and say it so proudly, But
yeah. Well, look, and look, let's clear the table too. What is post-traumatic stress syndrome? What are our veterans coming home from these war zones, and they're having a hard time dealing? And I don't want to get on the topic of the VA and the U.S. government shunning our veterans.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, killing and taking a life is difficult for any human being. Very clearly, that's what post-traumatic stress is about. What they see and what they have to deal with in war, of taking lives. Even the most bravado, if you've ever seen American Sniper, I don't really like all the bad language that's in it and things like that. But American Sniper, even with how good he was, Chris Kyle, and what an amazing guy he was for his country and things like that, he came home and he suffered. So don't ever think that taking a life is easy for some people and not easy for others. I believe it takes a toll on anyone with any kind of, unless you're a sociopath. If you're a sociopath, maybe you don't feel that kind of guilt, but I think otherwise you will. So let's put that aside and realize that we're going to feel guilty. We're going to feel we took a life. I don't even like, there's times where I shoot a deer and I'm like, I try to thank the Lord for the harvest, because it's like, oh, I feel that in me, like, I killed an animal. I have conscience. So taking a life isn't easy, but if it's between that life and my family's, how can I live with myself knowing that I did nothing? That to me is the question that we all have to answer.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's some people just throw arguments at you just because they want to be right, whether or not they actually want to take in facts and stuff like that. But
yeah. And honestly, and let me just let that comment you just made is right on the money. It's right on the money. A lot of times you can understand somebody's agenda and worldview by their question before you even provide an answer. The reason for that question is obvious. And so they know the answer. I think human beings are pretty smart. They know what you're going to say. They've probably heard it before if they're used to asking questions like that. To me, that kind of question tells me more about them than my answer will ever tell them or inform them. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it pretty much is that the conclusion I've come to on in that matter is, like you said, it's your basic programming as a human, but even more so your duty as a man, because if you look in the linguistics in the Garden of Eden, where God was giving the commands to Adam and Eve and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You look into the linguistics of the keeping the guard and all that stuff. It actually means to protect.
Yeah.
So it's your basic duty as a man to protect. So why not? Is
Yeah.
more my question.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
But let's get on to some less serious stuff. You did a EDC video, possibly a month or two ago. I just watched it a few weeks ago. But you you use a flashlight. A lot of people suggested to me when I bought a camping light to try fitting in my pocket. It's not happening. Your O light, I think it is.
Yeah, I have a couple of O lights. Now, I wasn't sure which one you meant. I know we're live. I left the one, if I don't know if it's the M22 Warrior. That's not in my EDC video. My baton is. So I'm hoping that it's my O light baton that you're talking about.
Yes, it is.
All right. Yeah,
Luckily.
my copper O light. You just want to know a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I mean, like, is it more of like a practical use, or is there any does it serve a double purpose?
No, I mean this is not a weapon light. Now, let me get it up to my camera so everybody can see it real well. And of course, you can steer them to the video. This one, now look, is the copper practical? Probably not. But I like the copper. I love copper. In fact, I have a couple. You look at my key bar is on that side, and I have a copper. That's a peanut lighter, they call it. It's a little tiny lighter. That's solid copper. I like copper. I like the way that when it patinas and it changes colors, and there's a uniqueness to it. It adds a little bit of weight to it, but it doesn't weigh a whole lot. But I carry that. You can see the deep pocket clip on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very deep pocket, so it goes up to the rim, and I carry it bezel up. And I've used this at nighttime to go around my car if I'm in the parking garage. Now, as the summer approaches and the spring approaches and all that, it starts to get daylight longer. For me, it's less and less of a problem. I don't work night shift. I'm going to shine this into the camera, so it may wash out, but it has pretty cool settings. That's the normal 80 lumen, but then you press and hold it, it goes up to 500 lumens, and that is you're not really picking it up there much, but it's a spotlight. I mean, it's really bright, and it shines very, very well. And what I really like is in the end cap, there's a magnet. And I was just doing it up in the kitchen for my wife. I said, check this out. And there's our microwave sitting there, and I'm sticking it to the side of the microwave. I've actually put this on my car to shine light, and it sticks right to the car. It sticks to my gun safe. It sticks to the heater, which is right behind you can't see it on camera. It's behind my work. So if I need some extra light in a specific area, that really comes in handy. Now, some might say, well, I don't want the magnet. You can actually take that out. So it's removable. That's a new feature. But yeah, this is the button. I've never once accidentally pressed the button in my pocket. So if anybody wants to know, I'm going to do a full review probably of all this stuff on my channel. But I like to use things for a little while so it's a little bit more viable. I want to do a video like right now on it, but I know that to be viable, I have to wait. But it's getting scratched up big time. It's starting to already patina around this hex right here.
Yeah.
It's starting to change colors there. It's starting to turn like a darker black color. But, I love this light. And I haven't even had to change the battery in it yet. I've used it quite a bit. No, yeah, everyday carry. It's not something that I sit on the nightstand. That goes with me everywhere I go.
Yeah, so it's more of a practical light, not really a tactical light at all.
No, it's not a tactical light. It doesn't have... I mean, a tactical light should be, I think, a little bit bigger than this. And I have big hands. I mean, you could see what that looks like in my big mitts.
Yeah, you'd only be able to hold it with like 2 fingers and all.
I have a gigantic, in a tactical light, you want to be able to hold it in reverse, and that thing just gets completely dwarfed in my hand. It doesn't really have a whole lot of real estate for gripping. It does have some nice texturing here in the center, but for a tactical light, no, it's definitely more of an EDC. I'd say the one baton. My Warrior is definitely a tactical light. It's big. It has a big bezel, and that thing will beam out 950 lumens. I mean, it'll blind you. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That's some people turned me on to that, and I've got curious about it. So might as well ask somebody who actually uses it.
Yeah, it's incredibly durable. People can say what they want. Look, Surefire, absolutely the best light that you could probably buy out there. They're bomb proof. but they're also the highest price that you'll ever find.
Mhm.
My Olights have never failed me. They take a beating. This thing's waterproof. My M22 Warrior takes a beating. I actually have it as a weapon light on my new Crusader rifle, which if you want to do one of these down the road, maybe we can do some showcases back and forth of what we have. If you want to do that, then you'll get to see the Warrior there, the M22. But yeah, that tactical light works extremely well. And for the money, I don't think you can really beat Olight. They're doing some great stuff. And I've also talked to their tech support and offered them some suggestions for things. They are so just kind and gracious people over there. I've not had a bad experience, and I'm not sponsored by them. I bought this with my own money, much to my wife's dismay, probably. But it's, so I'm not on the take. I really like Olight. They've never failed me, and they've always been very durable for me so far.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I noticed is you do what people call off the body carry, right?
I do. Yes.
Why did you side with that, and like pros and cons to that?
Well, it has to do a lot, I think, in my particular situation, has to do with physiology. Okay, every person is shaped a little bit differently. Not only are we shaped differently, we're also in shape at degrees. And so my wife can tell you something that's really been bugging me, and I'm actually going to be doing a video series potentially on this, or at least one video on staying in shape. And of course, as a steward of my body, and I believe that the Holy Spirit dwells within my body, I really believe that. I want to take care of it. However, in the past year and a half, since entering ministry and being so busy with 2 jobs, I've gained a little weight. When you gain a little weight, not only does it make your pants tighter, but when you try to carry appendix style with a thick, I carry a on the body carry, I'd like to carry my Glock 27, but this is a Gen 3. This is the oldest gun that I owned. It was the very first gun that I purchased. It was the only gun that I'd purchased for probably, 16 or 17 years. This was it. This is all I ever bought. And I still have it. It's been recently Cerakoted, as you can see. But it's thick. I mean, it's got some thickness to it. And then you add a Kydex or a leather holster over top of this, and then you add a belt clip. I mean, it can be, 2 inches thick?
Yeah, just about
2 inches, and it's a subcompact, but it's got some length to it. And when you put that appendix style, it really digs into me, especially when I sit down. And so I've really had some problems with on the body carry. Now on Sundays when I'm pastoring, I stand most of the time, obviously, so it's really not too much of a problem. But I've also been doing a whole lot of tactical training, and I don't train with my inside the waistband pistol for tactical training. I train with my full size XDM, and that's 2.5. That's my long slide, and I obviously can't carry that beast inside my pants.
no.
Can't even carry it outside the waistband. I don't recommend it. I don't think in Pennsylvania you can even open carry. I think you can legally, but the cops will give you some trouble if you do. But I had some trainers tell me just carry, if you can, just carry your main full size pistol. Here's the thing, Packing Preacher. This has to do with I think philosophy. And I don't always agree. I'm not Mr. Tactical. I'm not Mr. I'm not into this whole thing where people want to draw as fast as they can, like it's the wild, wild west, right? They're standing there, right? I've done a video on this too, by the way. They stand there with their hands up like this, and they're waiting for that buzzer to go off, right? They've created the perfect scenario in their mind so they can reach down, draw, and boom, 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 and put 10 rounds on target. And then they hold up what they do on the video? They hold up the little buzzer to show you how fast they are. First of all, I think that's all for bragging. Secondly, I think buzzers belong in competition, and I don't think any buzzer belongs in any gunfighting class anywhere. And I'm saying that as a complete civilian. I think it's absolutely insane. I am not interested in pulling the fastest when I'm in a perfectly prepared situation. And if you watch that video, my wife and I actually run some quick skits. We had a lot of fun editing that together. But what if you're carrying groceries? What if you're carrying your baby? What if you're carrying a diaper bag? What if you're carrying, the car seat? What if you're pushing a buggy? What if you've got your arm around your girl? You see, when the fight comes to you, most likely you're not going to be sitting there prepared for it. You're certainly not going to have a buzzer on your belt. You're certainly not going to have your hands up over your head like this, waiting for your instructor to say go.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to react in the situation that you're in, and that's how I train. Why not train with my beast? This thing holds, now with the extensions, it holds 22 rounds in the magazine. I can put one up the pipe. I have 23 rounds here. I have a quick, very fast for my aging eyes, RMR on here, so I can keep both eyes open. This is like shooting an AR-15. I have a surefire weapon light on. By the way, I've accumulated this over like a year and a half. It wasn't all at once. I couldn't afford it. It was.
Oh yeah.
So this is my Cadillac pistol. I only own 2 pistols. It's this one and my Glock. I am more content on carrying that off body because I am proficient with it. I know how to hold it. I know how to grip it. I know how it shoots. I know where it shoots. I know what's on it. I know where my fingers go. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It fits me better. I carry this in case I have no other resort, but I do train with it. I don't want to, I think I said I don't train with it. I don't take gunfighting classes with this pistol. This is an everyday carry. This is a concealed carry. This is if I absolutely need a pistol, this is what I'm going to have on my body, like in a movie theater or something like that. But I am more comfortable carrying off body. Sorry that my head went off camera there. And I am comfortable drawing off body. And so I carry a man purse in the form of Maxpedition Leo Versa Pack. That's what that is. And there's a compartment right here. You can see the Magpul universal holster inside there.
Yeah.
It hangs on the left side of my body because I'm a right-hand draw. That zipper zips back away from my body like this.
Mm-hmm.
Reach in with my right hand, and I actually take that to the range and I train with it. Here's the thing. I don't really care what somebody's philosophy is. They might say, oh, you're stupid, you're wrong. That's fine with me. I train with my stuff. I would rather have my gun off body with a sling that's around me that nobody can grab. I can get into it pretty fast. Could I get to it quicker than lifting up my shirt, digging around in my pants, pulling out, and then coming up? Maybe another half second. In competition, a half second might mean the difference between a trophy or not a trophy. But in real life, that half second, I'm going to be moving. I'm going to be trying to gain a tactical advantage. Nobody should be standing stationary. I just watched a video today, for example, where guys are testing these different weapon systems for how fast they reload. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not the weapon system that reloads fast, it's the shooter. And every time they did a reload, every one of those guys that did a tactical reload, you know what they did? They stayed standing there.
Mm-hmm.
So they took their shots, they come up into their workspace, they pop the mag, they grab their stuff, and they come back up and shoot. None of them stepped off the X. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah. That's all over the place.
None of them moved. So when I'm reloading, I'm actually moving. And some might say that that takes time. That doesn't matter. In a real gunfight, I'm moving. I'm getting off the X to give that my enemy a moving target. So he has to adjust now to me and not me standing there providing him a perfect shot because I want to test how fast I reload. I'd rather reload a half second slower and get off the X, get behind cover, get behind concealment. And that's how I train. Look, I may be wrong. I may be right. It works for me. I do carry off body quite a bit, but I do carry inside the waistband. So I try both. I'm still kind of searching for a holster inside the waistband that'll work for me. I don't mean to prattle on here, but there's a couple companies now that are making what's called tuckable holsters, where instead of if you have the Kydex holster here, instead of the clip being right here, making it thicker, it's kind of off this way, more in line with the holster. So you can actually tuck it this way, and it creates a thinner profile for the pistol.
Yeah, I'm looking into the Klinger Atom holster.
Okay, yeah.
Have you heard of that? It's
send me that link.
Yeah, I have a Cook's holster tuckable, but it's the same deal where the clip is on the slide here, and that adds too much bulk to me. So
Yeah.
the Atom holster is sort of similar, except the clip is off to the side here.
Yep, that's it. Yep, that's what I need for me. And look, that's not for everybody, but I think for me that would be a good solution. So do I believe in IWB, inside the waistband carry? Absolutely. I do practice it. Am I more comfortable with off the body carry? Yeah, I am, because I can draw quick with it. It's always right next to me. And look, quite frankly, when I go to work, I don't want to be printing. And the bigger you are, unless you're wearing really big baggy clothes, the bigger you are. And I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm obese or fat. I'm a big guy. Even with a small pistol, I tend to print. I don't want to be printing if I'm walking into work. So I have to be, careful and wise on what I'm doing. When I carry off body, I practice it. That's what I would encourage anybody. If you're going to carry off body, I know a lot of women carry off body, right? I mean, women aren't carrying IWB. They just don't. But they carry in a purse or something like that. Practice with it. Get proficient with it. Don't just put it in your purse and then, okay, put it somewhere where it's secure, where it's mounted. Like that bag, it's Velcroed in there. So it's always in this upright position. Don't let your, pistol be inside of a bag. It just tumbles around in there. You'll never draw it. You'll be dead before you even, get your hand on it in a bag like that. Practice with it, set it up the right way. You can easily carry off body completely fine, in my opinion.
Well, I recently, last year, helping at a church camp we run. One of the men that go to church and go to help out at camp there is he used to work with the DEA, and I'm pretty sure now he's an instructor for the Georgia DEA. He's traveled over to Arizona to do seminars or different stuff like that. But
yeah.
I knew he carried at camp. Well, obviously being an off-duty officer. So I asked him, how do you do it? And he did the same thing like you, except he had a 511 backpack. He kept his in, and at the time, I didn't have money for that. I mean, I just have my shield. I had the Versa carry holster. I do not advise it, but I did it, and I went the entire week of camp, like with that on me. I had carried appendix. I had that spare mag, fixed blade knife, all under my shirt on my front. Nobody noticed it. Like I had to tell. I was talking to one of the teens just casually 2 weeks after. And I just brought up, I had it on me all at camp. He's like, you did? Yeah, I did. So, but the only reason I stayed with on the body carry where I had a backpack with me, I could have put it on there, is more of like just how my head works. Like I don't pocket carry because I fidget with stuff in my pocket. I do not want to shoot my foot, so I don't put it in my pocket.
Yeah.
And with off body carry, with bags, I just put them wherever and I leave them there. Like, I don't care if I'm walking over to, like I do at school. I leave my backpack in one place. I walk, like, 2 hallways down to talk to somebody and come back. I don't like that. So, personally, I prefer on the body just because how my head works.
Right. And by the way, your shield, my wife has a shield, but she has the double stack. Or wait, no, that would be the compact. She has the
M9C.
M&P 9C. It's the double stacked. One thing I will say is the reason I have trouble carrying inside the waistband is because of the double stack. I really want the shield in the 9. It's just sold out everywhere. And I'm just at the point where I'm not real sure, I don't want to spend the money on it at this point, but I might save up for it because the single stack makes it a whole lot thinner. That one might be something I can conceal, but you bring up a good point. You're situationally and you're aware of yourself. Me, I keep things locked up. Today, when I went to lunch, I grabbed my backpack. I wanted to tell you too, I do. He said he uses a 511. This is a Vanquist. And it has this hidden compartment back here. You can see in there, maybe right there.
Good wide
holster. Compartment. And my back is right here. And all I do is sling that off my shoulder, and it comes up around right here like this. I can unzip it and get right to the gun right here.
Yeah. Have you checked out some of Vanquist stuff? They have very similar stuff.
That's a Vanquist Falcon 7. Yep. That's it.
I was thinking about a V-Packer somebody has.
Yeah, they have. Well, Maxpedition and Vanquist, and I know there's a lot of other bag companies. I mean, bag companies are a dime a dozen, but I like Maxpedition and Vanquist personally. But yeah, so that's the thing. Be flexible, be versatile, but the biggest thing is you got to train with it. You have to train with it. If you don't train with it, you're really handicapping yourself. Some people are like, "Oh, I'll buy that bag and stuff my gun in there," and that's it. They don't even take it to the range and think to maybe I should train that way.
Yeah.
Put yourself in that scenario. I've seen, you do running and gunning. And by the way, that suicide video that you did, God bless you, man, because if I did that, I'd probably be dying. And that's a shame. I shouldn't say that, but I think I'm considerably older than you are. But that's a good way to train. Get your heart rate up and keep going. But look, do the same thing, but instead of your tactical gear, use your off body. Not you. I'm just saying your audience or my audience. Train that way. That's the best thing.
Yeah, well, you sort of bring up a good point. I hadn't done that with my handgun yet, but part of the reason is I just schools got locked up tight because I'm in the master's program now, which means more money. So I
Nice.
haven't been able to spend the money I used to on ammo. But I remember last year, I think it was in March or April, I took a handgun training course with a guy here in Georgia, and about 6 or 8 months before then, I'd been putting 200 rounds through my shield, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was going to a carry class. No, it was a tactical class. I was the one with the smallest handgun there. Everybody was having SIGs, Glock
Yep.
19s, 17s, and like XDs like you have, and I'm showing up here with a 7+1 handgun. But
Yeah.
what was interesting to me.
You were probably doing the tactical reloads a whole lot more than they were.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, that was the thing that bugged me. Reason I really want to move up to the 9C is because I know 7+1 is not enough for me in my mind.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about it was you could tell I was practiced more with my handgun because I was right next to me was a YouTube ninja, and you could tell because every time he had to clear, he went cleared it. I'm like, one
Yeah.
and you're done, dude. But I was shot one of the best groups in the class because afterwards he gave you a qualifying run, sort of like they do in the police office, and
Yeah.
I scored higher than most people at full size handguns. So it's not necessarily what you carry; it's
No,
you need to
it is
practice
not.
with
It
it.
is. You're exactly right. It is not about what you carry. I mean, if you carry a 22 long rifle, okay, then it might be a little bit about what you carry, or
Yeah.
a 32 ACP. 380 you could get away with, but they're even saying now 380 you try to stay away from it if you can. Now, I would recommend personally myself, if I were an instructor, if I had any reputation at all, I would immediately say 9mm or higher. I would say 9mm exclusively. There's this whole thing where I want a 45 ACP. Well, look, if you like a 45 ACP, if you shoot a 45 ACP well, great. Me, I'd rather have the extra rounds in my mag, and terminal ballistics are what matter. And it's shot placement. There's no such thing as bullet knockdown power. That's a myth. The
Mm-hmm.
knockdown power is putting two to the chest and one in the cranial vault. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's knockdown power. You do that with even a 380 and you're going to put the person down. The 45 ACP passing through tissue, terminal ballistic wise, it's not going to, I mean, it might create a slightly bigger wound channel, but if your shot isn't placed right, it doesn't much matter. And there's science around that to prove it. And one thing you said about that racking, I've seen guys rack point down range and boom, the gun goes off. Why do you think that is?
Because they didn't pull back far enough, and all.
They didn't pull back far enough, or their extractor was broken. Extractor breaks, you can do this all day long and nothing's coming out. So
Yeah.
what we're taught is once we clear, we actually look in, visually inspect the chamber, look away to break your tunnel vision, because human beings see under stress. You probably learned it. They ran us a few times. They did the same thing with those suicides during the tactical class. There were a few people that forgot their phone numbers, and that's just running a few laps and getting yourself stressed and worked up like that, with physical exertion. Imagine shot at. So you get this kind of tunnel vision, and then we physically check with our fingers. You physically check it. That's a clear gun. This whole thing, just because Hickok 45 does that and then pulls the trigger and shoots it down range. No, look, nothing against Hickok.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the proper way to clear a gun. You have to visually inspect to get your finger in there, and any trainer that, in my opinion, any trainer that gets that, and to be quite frank, most trainers, you don't need a clear gun. If you're training properly, you don't need to have your gun empty and clear. You do it at the end of the class or before lunch break. That's when we would always do it. Otherwise, we're carrying around a hot pistol. I have this pistol's hot. I'm sitting here doing this filming. You notice where my finger is?
Uh-huh.
Never on the trigger, and because it's hot, it's loaded, and I'm not ever going to apologize for that. That gun needs to be loaded.
Yeah, that's the same. But like when I showed you the sliding thing, I immediately put everything back in it. And recently, a video I did where I was talking about this puppy, I kept it loaded the entire time because it's what I use to protect myself. It has to stay loaded all the time. So just keep your booger hook off the bang switch. Nothing bad's going to happen.
I watched that video just the other day, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, good video. I liked what you had to say about the shield. It was very honest. So very good.
Yeah, as much as I love it, it's not the greatest. But Well, so I told somebody I'd call them in a few minutes, so unfortunately I have to get off
Sure.
now. Uh, Thanks for doing this. And do you want to give a plug for something coming up soon, or?
Yeah, my channel, like I said, look up Tactical Preacher. I'm assuming that Packing Preacher here will link it so you can go over and give it a follow, but or a subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I would also encourage my subscribers to check out Packing Preacher. But I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. In fact, when I just checked, I was at like 963, 964, and that's up like a huge amount from just November of this past year. I was at like 250. So a lot of things are happening. I think it's all good things. I think that there's a message here between Christian YouTubers that really needs to be said, especially in a society like this in America that's turning away from God. Uh, just anyway, at 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to say thank you. And I have a whole box full of goodies. I'm going to give away a key bar, which I had the pleasure of actually winning one with a contest on Instagram. So this is a key bar to keep your keys really quiet and then they fan out. And very, very good EDC product. I have one that I purchased, and it's brand new, and I'm going to be giving that away. I'm going to be giving away some HexMag stuff. If you live in a free state and you're allowed to have a 30-round magazine, then you'll probably get a 30-round brand new PMag in the box. So there's a bunch of prizes. I don't want to give it away, but I'm going to do a 1,000 subscribers thank you for everything that that the subscribers have done. People like you, Packing Preacher, and others. So I really appreciate it. But that's the only thing I really have to plug. I don't sell anything. Unless you live in my local area and you know me, you can come to the church and say hi. But that's pretty much all I have to plug, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I also appreciate you coming on, and being willing to do this. Before we log off, like I always do, I'll remind you all to walk, preach, walk, and carry loaded Glock.
Yeah, I like your slogan.